He's a really big common, he's got to go in the net. It is summertime and it's beautiful and warm outside, meaning one thing, floater fishing. We're going to cover an array of tactics from fishing crust at close quarters to mixers at range. This is the Surface Fishing Masterclass. Check that one out, getting absolutely shredded. It's all about timing floater fishing, making the most of the opportunities. What a lovely carp. Yes!
We begin this masterclass at an intimate farm pond in Aylesbury, where I will show you how to catch carp off of the surface. This technique is simply having your hook bait suspended on the surface as opposed to being on the bottom. This method is extremely visual fishing, enabling you to make decisions very quickly based on what you see happening in real time. I'm going to start with a bait you can find in your kitchen, bread crust.
After spending a few hours walking about looking for fish, I did find the odd one close in, but not enough to cast. But as the morning has worn on, they seem to have pushed out a little bit further. So I've kept things simple, just a very, very small 15-gram interceptor, sort of a 6-foot hook link, and a little bit of bread crust. It's as simple as that. There looks to be 4, 5, maybe 6 fish out there. So this little interceptor will keep things nice and quiet, but still allow me to get out there, more so than a free-lined one would. Let's have a go. What an annoying chicken.
The fish quickly disappeared, but the beauty of surface fishing is that you're always on your feet. The island in the middle is a feature that the fish love to cruise round, which made the task of chasing them a little bit easier. A few moves of trickling bait in to get their confidence up, and I'd settled on a spot where the fish were feeding with gusto.
Oh, there's one quite close. There's one going right near it. Yes!
As soon as you see that hook bait disappear, strike. Don't worry about the controller, just don't take your eyes off that bait if you can see it.
To put real firm pressure on that so I didn't go underneath those island willows, but I think we've got her out. Whee. Wow, that was hectic. Crazy this. Lovely bit of fishing on the crust. Nice little fish by the looks of it. Nice scaly one. Let's grab the net. It's crazy fishing in this shallow coloured water because you don't really see them very easily, and all of a sudden they just appear out of the abyss and nail the bread. Catch you a bit unawares. A nice scaly one. Come on in, mate. There we go. Go on then, mate. Oh, hey. Lovely jubbly. Awesome. That's the result, isn't it, fellas? What an absolute stunner that one is. We've been wandering about this morning, looking for them, and eventually they started taking a few bits of crust. Just goes to show you don't need buckets and buckets of mixers on venues like this. Just a little bit of bread crust is sometimes all you need. Beautiful carp. See if we can catch another one. The beauty of fishing such a small, intimate venue like this is you're never far away from the carp. I think it's that game of cat and mouse. Chasing them around the lake, watching them feed on the bait. There's nothing better in my opinion.
The simplest form of surface fishing is undoubtedly tying a hook straight to your main line and hooking on a piece of bread. The carp are a little further out than what I can comfortably cast a free-line piece of bread, so in this case I'm using Guru Pulse braided mainline in 24 pounds, a 15-gram interceptor to give my bread the additional casting weight and a size 4 wide gape. As for hooking the bread, it couldn't be simpler.
So before I put the rig back out, I'm going to show you how I hook bread crust. It's very, very simple. This is just size 4 wide gape. all you need to do is pinch off a bit of the crust, about the size of, I don't know, slightly larger than your thumb, I guess. So that sort of size. I then poke the hook point through the middle of the crust, going back out the other side, and then I just pull it back just so I can see the first few mil of the point, and it will sit like that on the surface. Now you might think, oh, a lot of the hook is covered there, but in the water the bread will go very, very soft. So when a fish slurps this in, you can easily set that hook home. And yeah, it's been working really well. It will literally sit like that, waiting for a carp to suck it in. Great little method, very, very simple. Let's get it back out there and see if we can catch another one. These tactics apply to larger waters as well. Just because they're big expanses of open water doesn't mean that you have to fish at ultra long distance or anything like that. Just check out all those little nooks and crannies, the little bays, little weedy areas, and you can catch them just like you can on small lakes. He's going for it. Oh. Go on, mate, come and eat it. Oh. Whee! That weren't the goldfish.
The braid is incredibly strong and durable, but with zero stretch in it, I prefer to use the clutch as opposed to backwinding. A perfectly set clutch shouldn't be too slack, but tight enough for me to put a bend in the rod and control the fish under pressure when I need to.
The bites are crazy, they just appear from nowhere. Oh yeah, he's a nice fish, a bit different. Such fun fishing this is with crust. It's very different to sort of mixer fishing where you're really trying to get them competing. Literally just been walking around the lake throwing random bits of crust everywhere. When I spot lips coming out, I get straight onto them. There we go. Nice fish. Go on then, mate. Yes! Lovely fish. That'll do nicely. Keeping on the move is really starting to pay off. Those laps around the lake, throwing crust in loads of different swims is paying off. I noticed this one slurping down a few bits of bread just under that island, and it didn't take long to snaffle my bread crust. I thought I was going to catch a goldfish at first, but then this one nipped in and nailed it. I think what I'm going to do now is, as much as this is very, very fun, I do have another venue that will give us a chance of using a few different tactics and the chance of some very, very big carp. Having shown you the traditional style of surface fishing, we are now onto a completely different kettle of fish. We are at Monk's Pit in Cambridge, which holds some very, very big carp in. Now over here, we are likely to be fishing much, much further. So we're going to cover surface fishing at range, and we may get a few at close quarters as well. So first things first, I'm going to have a little wander and see if I can find a few fish.
You really don't need a lot of kit for floater fishing, so walking the lake isn't a problem. A basic unhooking mat holds my light rods, net, compact waist sling and digital scales, and a compact cube carryall loaded with floater bits, along with some essential tackle, a few interceptors, wide gape hooks, floating mono hook links and a few catapults. After a good recce, which is the first thing I do every time, I settled on a swim called the Swamp. A big factor was that the wind was off of my back, meaning that my line will stay nice and straight so I can be in constant direct contact with the controller. Otherwise, with the wind in my face, my line would be in a right mess. With a few carp already showing in the area, I would catapult out a few mixers to test their reaction.
The most important thing is, if I do get a few feeding, I don't want to get too excited and go casting in straight away. The key to surface fishing is getting them feeding competitively.
After a few minutes, the carp were pack-manning the mixers down. Once they're hell-bent on feeding, this is the time to get the rod out. I was going in with a 30-gram interceptor for the distance and a whittled down pop-up to mimic the feed and a pink topper sight marker just so I can see my hook bait from afar. The last thing to do is smear a dab of Camo-Coat onto the hook link, leaving the last inch near the hook Camo-Coat free to help disguise that section in the surface film. Coat is water resistant, so aids in keeping the line on the surface and is something I apply every few casts.
Cast past the fish, and now I'm literally going to reel it back really slowly to where they are battering the mixers. We are in the zone there. Okay. Watching that mixer so carefully. As soon as that pink goes, it will strike. This has got to be close. Oh, no. Pulled out of that one.
Surface fishing definitely isn't a tactic that's one for one. Don't worry too much about missing bites.
I might have to put my glasses on. I can't see it as easily as I want to.
On the bottom, you wouldn't have a clue how many times you get done, which is more often than we'd like to admit.
He's on the right line.
He's on the right line.
He's on the right line.
He's on
the right line. He's getting it in his mouth.
He's got it. It's in his mouth.
It's in his mouth.
With the surface, we're trying to convert every single opportunity. Some we miss, some we get.
Yes! We're in. Result. After a couple of mouths, we finally hooked one. Mega! Oh, this feels like it's got some power, this. Getting absolutely shredded. We could do with getting some line back on this. One thing when you get them feeding competitively like that is, and particularly on a deep water, you'll notice that the fish are actually still feeding out there. On shallow waters, quite often when you hook one, it blasts through the middle of the shoal and they spook, but on deep waters such as this, which is sort of 25 foot out there, deeper in parts, they can continue feeding just like they are now. So if we get her in, there's a good chance we could get another. Well, there's all that line that I got back gone again. When playing fish on such small hooks and light line, a big thing for me is not panicking at the last minute. Obviously, when you've got them into safety, they're within close quarters, a lot of people will see their prize and try and bully it into the net. Come on, mate. I've done it myself. It can be heartbreaking losing a big fish at close quarters, so don't panic. Absolutely turbocharged it is. If they go, let them go. As long as you're obviously not fishing into any snags or anything like that, just make sure that you get them in the net. Don't panic, don't bully them. They will come in. Oh yes, it looks like a fully. Looks like a fully scaled, which is very, very welcome. Come on, mate. Oh, look at him. You need to come in, Bushy. You need to come in, mate. Get in. Ah. That is a really, really nice fish. Look at that. Fully scaled. I could not ask for a better start. Check that one out. Beautiful, beautiful, fully scaled, over 20 pounds, and just goes to show that patience is a virtue. I didn't cast out too quickly, got them feeding confidently, and this one went within 5 minutes. And I'm very, very pleased with that one. I did put a few mixers straight back out, so there's every chance that we could get another one. Maybe, might be even bigger. If not, I'm very pleased with that.
Despite my best efforts and a few missed bites, as well as the weather turning a little bit sour, we decided to sack it off and come back the next day, which was forecast to be a scorcher. Perfect floater weather.
We are back down the lake and it is very, very different today. It's bright, scorching sunshine and the wind is a little bit stronger. We did have a few hours yesterday which were really, really good. We managed to catch a nice one as well. And that's the thing about float fishing. When they're having it, you've got to make the most of it, because shortly after we caught that one, it completely died. But we are back today. The plan of action is to start feeding floaters nice and early within the next 5 minutes. Keep an eye on what's going on, and there's a swim opposite that generally is the better floater swim, to be honest. We're going to keep an eye on that one. It's a lot calmer over there today, and should we need to, we will move around there and feed a few mixers in there as well. But like I said, the biggest thing in floater fishing is to make the most of those opportunities. They can only be short, so once you get them feeding confidently, you've got to catch one and then keep on the move.
Today is going to be incredibly hot, so sun protection is the first job. Lashings of Factor 50 sunblock is an absolute must. Really slap it on here, because getting burnt will cause you serious damage. Next is a lightweight cool top, perfect for not only stopping the strong sun rays from hitting your skin, but also keeping you nice and cool. Polarising shades to help you spot the carp while keeping the sun out of your eyes, and a brimmed bucket hat to help protect your head, neck and face. Let's hope this action is as hot as this weather. Because the fish seem to be a little further out, I'm going to switch to baiting with the spom. Just 3 to 4 medium spoms to start with, and top up every 15 minutes depending on how much is being eaten and how quickly.
Well, the sun is pretty high now. I've got to say it's blisteringly hot. But with that, the carp seem to be a lot more active, albeit very, very long out in the pond. So as a result of that, it is going to make things a lot harder to see the hook bait, etc. So I'm going to switch over to the braided rod. The braid will just allow me to fly that interceptor out there a fair bit longer. Not only that, due to the lack of stretch, it'll also allow me to be a lot more instant should I get a bite. So yeah, that's the theory. I'm going to cast out probably in the next 5-10 minutes, give them a little bit longer, but they're definitely getting more confident. Weather and time of day are obviously two huge factors when floater fishing. There are no rules, of course, but from my experience, early on in the day or later in the day tend to be best. Obviously you need warm temperatures for the fish to get up on the surface, so 22, 23 degrees and better is most favourable to me. Time of year is obviously very important in floater fishing as well. I've actually had some great floater fishing experiences end of April time. If we have a really warm April, a nice warm May, it can be the best time to go floater fishing. They haven't been hammered on them, and they're actually very, very easy to catch in those months if we have warm weather. But as a general rule, end of April till September time tends to be the best time of floaters. I have actually known some hard waters to fish in the winter on floaters. There's a couple of lakes in Bedfordshire that I know that people used to catch them off the top in winter. I'm yet to experience it, but it does happen on some waters. Yes! Shredding. Flipping. Oh no, has it come off? It has, no! No! Ah! That is frustrating. Like I looked a marlin.
The lost fish had pushed the others a little bit further out, but switching from a 30 gram to a 50 gram interceptor made the extra range easily achievable.
Oh yeah, boy. That did go further. That's where we want it. We're in. Well, that was quick. Wow, that must have just landed on its nose. Literally 2 seconds after changing the float, like I just mentioned, that extra 10 yards was very worthwhile, wasn't it? We're in again. Wow, that was instant. I think this braid's making a major difference today. I've had 2 fish take the bait and hooked them both, whereas yesterday probably had 4 or 5 pull out before I hooked one. I think the braid is the huge factor in that. That instant contact at range, and we're setting the hook. Now it is very important to have a nice soft rod, especially on the braid. You're using small hooks, light lines, and you want that nice light tip to cushion literally every single lunge. There's a lot of big fish in here and they can lunge and turn quickly, very powerfully, so yeah, you need that nice soft tip.
Specialised surface fishing rods are ideal, but anything that has a test curve of between 2.5 and 2 3/4 pounds will be perfect for the job.
See the controller float coming up slowly. Lovely getting a bend in the rod, it really is. Regardless of fish size, floater fishing is just always so rewarding. Watching them take the bait, you can't beat it. Nice little zipline by the looks of it. God, it's a nice carp. Go on, mate, get in that net. Brilliant. Yes. Well, first things first, it's time to get some more mixers out there. It's all about timing floater fishing, making the most of the opportunities. So when you know they're having it, rather than having your smiley pictures and all that straight away, risking the fish doing the off, get some bait out there, get them feeding, and then you can have your smiley fish pictures, which is what we're going to do in a minute, because that's a lovely linear. An absolute cracker, this one. And that is the result of a very persistent morning's floater fishing. What a beautiful carp that is. As I showed you earlier, I needed to go out that 10-20 yards further, so switched over the float, managed to do it, and I had a bite within 10 seconds, I reckon it was. Yeah, a real cracker, that one. Right, let's show you the rig that I've been catching these fish on. My floater fishing setup is extremely important, and it's something that I've perfected over a number of years. The first things first for my floater setup is the main line. I tend to use either a braid or a monofilament. My braid choice tends to be Pulse, which is a floating braid and allows me to get into contact with a fish very quickly. The monofilament is Cruiser, and I tend to use that where braid is banned. It is very clear, very inconspicuous, and can get you a bite from those trickier feeding fish. Now, first things first, I like to thread the main line through the interceptor stem. I then tie that to the quick link using a figure of 8 knot. Now, the figure of 8 knot allows you to basically chop and change that float very quickly. Once you've hooked the figure of 8 knot onto the quick link, I then saliva the swivel and slowly pull that into the little rubber grommet before pushing everything together. The next thing is the hook link itself. Now, depending on the situation, I tend to use 9 pound or 11 pounds zig line. It's very strong, very reliable, and sits on the surface perfectly. I tie that to a size 8 mixer or a size 8 wide gape, again depending on the circumstances. Now, the knot is very important. I tend to use a Palomar knot because it is non-strangulation. Now, the way that I tie that on is I pass the tag end through the hook eye before coming back through the hook eye once again. I then form a small granny knot before passing the hook through that granny knot. I then wet with saliva and slowly pull it down tight, making sure that there's no kinks or anything like that in the hook link. I then trim the tag end before sorting the hook bait out. Now, the hook bait is obviously very important as well. I whittle it down to make it look like a matching mixer. I then score the middle with scissors, which is where the hook will be sitting. I then place some super glue into where I've scored before placing the back of the shank into the mixer and super gluing it down. I then grab a pink pop-up, trim a bit of that off and super glue it on top of the hook bait. Now with that end sorted, I then need to tie the hook link to the interceptor swivel. To that, I just use a grinner knot. Very, very simple. You just pass it through the swivel, create a loop before going through that loop 5 or 6 times, again moistening with saliva and pulling it down very, very slowly so you don't kink or score the hook link. I keep my hook links around 4 to 5 foot in length because I want plenty of gap between the hook bait and the float, because carp can be spooky off that float at times. Now before casting out, I always smear some Camacoat along the hook link to ensure that it is sitting nicely on the surface. One thing I've always done floater fishing is strike rather than letting them hook themselves. I think you definitely convert more. There's a couple of different types of floater angler, I think. There's the one who sort of sits it out and lets them hook themselves against the float, or the one that strikes. And to be honest, I feel like I convert a lot more by striking. Yes, you are going to miss some, but I think the hook to sort of strike ratio is far higher when you're striking, especially when you're using like braided main lines, so you can have instant contact. The key is keeping an eye on that hook bait. As soon as you see that pink go, strike. Oh, just a little bit more, go on. Come on. Yes. Now that was a powerful take. That is the first time I've ever had them feeding so close in here. They were like 20 yards out, which is the complete opposite to what they were doing about an hour ago, crazily. I thought they were pushing further and further out. Obviously I caught that one at range, and then all of a sudden they've come in really close, which is amazing really. Best way catching them close. So you can see absolutely everything. I saw that nail the hook bait straight away. He looks like a very, very nice carp, this one. Oh yeah, you are a beauty. We want you in, mate. Once they pick up a bit of steam, they absolutely fizz off.
This was a much better fish, and after multiple runs,
Shredding me, this one.
I still couldn't do anything.
Come on, boyo.
But with light tackle, when carp run, you really can't do much.
Oh yeah, he's a nice carp, he is, fellas. We need to get him in. He's coming, he's coming. Oh yes, what a lovely carp. Yes! That is a lovely fish. What a result. That is what we came here for. Yes. What a lovely carp. That's a good fish, that is. That is a really, really good fish. Check him out. 28 pounds and 2 ounces of beastie mirror carp. I am well chuffed with that one. Believe it or not, we had them feeding just 20 yards out, managed to see the take, everything. It was absolutely epic. This one was caught on a size 8 wide gape, 11 pound hook link. So believe it or not, you can still use tiny hooks and get beasts like this into the net. What a carp that is.
The carp was still in the swim, but they weren't feeding as tenaciously as before. So I grabbed my stuff and headed round to another part of the lake where I'd spied a few swells in amongst the tree fluff where my stray, loose mixers had drifted down.
That is right amongst them. Got to get a chance here.
A reel with a nice, smooth clutch is essential when you're using light lines and hooks. And if your clutch is a bit sticky, then you'll risk losing the fish when he powers off like this one.
Wow, that is going.
I'd opt for a smaller float reel rather than a big pit style carp reel. You'll be holding your rod all day and you want your setup nice and balanced. Light rod, light reel.
Go on then, get in, get in. Yes. Ah, a little move. Back on the fish again.
Seeing as the fish came from ultra close range, I'd seemed to have batted them back down to my original swim. So it was time for another move.
Here we go. Gosh, it's absolutely pelting across the surface. Look at that, like a bloody steam train. Wow. That is ridiculous. Surface fishing. It don't get much better, does it? Whoa, look at that big fish right next to it. Oh my God, look at the size of that. Look at the size of that carp.
Unfortunately, it wasn't 2 for 1.
Yes, get in. You have beasted me up, carp.
But with the fish in the net and a few spoms and mixers back out, this one weighed just over 26 pounds.
Right, you mad old carp, let's get you home. There is a multitude of different baits to choose from when you go surface fishing, and you can make it as simple or as complicated as you like. As you know, I've already tempted a few carp off the surface using bread crust. Now, bread is as cheap as it comes. You can literally nip down your local bakers, nip down the supermarket, grab a loaf of bread and go surface fishing. You could also get yourself some cat biscuits, some pedigree chum mixers. There's all sorts in a supermarket. Personally though, when I go to the slightly harder waters where you're fishing at range, the carp might be slightly cuter, I do tend to do something else, which is slightly more complicated, but still very easy. My mix on lakes such as this tends to be a mixture of different sized floating pellets. These are very, very oily and the carp absolutely love them. There's a couple of different sizes in there. There is a 6 to 8 mil pellet and a larger 10 to 12 mil pellet. And I quite often find that the carp will get feeding on these smaller ones first, gain a lot of confidence, and obviously with the mixture of bigger sizes in there as well, they match your hook bait perfectly. Now, one thing I do give them a little bit of a spruce up, a little bit of a boost up using salmon oil. So to prepare, I pop in the larger pellets first, normally sort of half a bucket of the larger pellets. I follow that with the smaller ones, then I add the salmon oil. Now, the salmon oil not only adds attraction, it also creates an almighty slick on the surface of the water, which in the wind is very, very key. It'll often calm off a big area in the wind, allowing you to see the feeding fish and of course your hook bait. I then follow with some krill powder. This is sort of neutral buoyancy. Some will sit on the surface, other bits will just hover in the upper layers and just give them another added attraction that the carp absolutely love. I personally prefer to spom this mix. Because they're a mixture of sizes, I don't want the small ones going really close, the bigger ones travelling further and spraying the whole swim with pellets, so I tend to spom them out. However, on the odd circumstance, you can get carp feeding very, very close in, and then I would opt for a catapult. So there you go. You can use an array of different surface baits. You can go cheap, you can go complicated or more expensive. I personally suit it to the water that I'm fishing and take it from there. There we go, we're in again. Yes. As soon as I hit that fish, it absolutely whacked me. so hot today. It's coming in slow now. Just got to have the rod out really far. It's reeds down here. There's the controller. Go on, keep coming. Keep coming. It's like a nice fish. It's a common by the looks of it. It's like a common. We haven't had a common. Oh yeah, he's a nice big common. He's a really big common. He's got to go in the net. Come on, mate. Yes, that is a good fish. There aren't many commons in this lake. And that's one of them. Yes, he's a nice one, boys. He's a nice fish, he is. Big fat common. Wow. How about that? 33 pounds and 8 ounces. Doesn't get much better than that. What a carp that is. Over 33 pounds. A breeze block of a common carp. Surface fishing has got to be my favourite style of angling. You're always doing something, always casting, always chasing them around. It really is non-stop, exhilarating fun. I hope you've enjoyed my surface fishing masterclass as much as I have. It's time to get this one back and head home.